Okay, so today we are starting our Southern Colonies notes. So paste down the notes on one side and the map on the other. Today we will do Virginia and Maryland. All right, let's go ahead and start. So Virginia, when was it founded? And it is 1607, and that was with the settlement of Jamestown. Where was it founded? And it's along the James River. In modern day Virginia, which is VA, is the abbreviation for Virginia. All right, we're getting ready to shade in where Virginia is on the map. So I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to shade in the box green because I'm going to color in Virginia in green. Now this is obviously what the map boundaries looked like back during this time period, because Virginia, if you don't know, extends out further this way today, as does North Carolina below it, which you should know. All right, we're going to shade in Virginia in green. Or I am. You can choose whatever color you'd like. All right, and then one city, notable city, and that would be Williamsburg. I'm going to put that in black, and that's located right here where that dot was. Williamsburg, if you're familiar with that, you know that it has Busch Gardens, Williamsburg there. Lots of historical sites to see in Williamsburg. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't already. All right. I am going to have a question on this video, so make sure you're paying attention. The founder is the Virginia Company. So it was a company of people that financed this colony, made it possible for it to exist. And why was it founded? It was founded to make money. All right, in the other row, so just some notable things about the Virginia colony. Conflict happened between the colonists and the Native Americans. Colonists had many advantages over the Native Americans, including guns. The natives did not have access to that at that time. The colonists also had resistance to disease. So in other words, when the Europeans came over, they brought with them diseases that were common in Europe, that their bodies, their immune systems had developed strength against, that the Native Americans, because they had never been exposed to those diseases, were very vulnerable to, and would often die from. And Europeans may or may not die from it because their immune systems were more accustomed to those diseases. In 1646, the Algonquian leader was killed, and that would be the name of the Native American tribes around that area, Algonquian. And most of the fighting ended. So once the leader was killed, that pretty much caused the fighting to taper out. However, conflicts continued to happen on the frontier. Now, this word frontier has the word front in it, which you probably remember from Miss Wilkinson in science class, what a storm front is, and that's when two air masses are meeting each other, right? Fronts are where two things are meeting each other. You might have heard me talk about in our novel or throughout the course of the year that when you have two militaries up against each other, they're fighting along a front. You have one side and then the other side, and where they meet, where they're fighting, that's a front. So front can be thought of as a place where two things come together. And a frontier would be where the two types of land come together. You have the land where people are living and settling on and they're familiar with. And then beyond that, you have the frontier, the land that hasn't been explored yet. So it's where those familiar and an unfamiliar land meet. And the frontier would be the area that hasn't been explored yet. All right, Maryland. Maryland was founded in 1632. And this was founded, it was established to the north and to the east of the Virginia colony. To the north and east of, and I'm just going to abbreviate Virginia with VA. All right, let's flip over to the map so we can shade in Maryland. All right, I'm going to use yellow. So I'm going to make my box yellow so that I know what yellow represents on the map, that it represents Maryland. And now I'm going to shade in Maryland in that color. Again, you can choose whatever color you want. Just make sure that your map key matches what you shade in. All right, let's do this color. All right, so this is like a shade of red. The city that I'm shading in Maryland in red, it's actually not really like red. It's a metallic ruby. Metallic ruby is the name of this color. Metallic ruby should be shaded in for St. Mary's City. Now, St. Mary's City was the original capital, the original settlement of the colony of Maryland. I like this color. I didn't even know I had it. All right, founder was a man by the name of George Calvert. George Calvert. And the reason Maryland was founded was for religious freedom. So we've had some colonies that were founded for religious reasons and some that were founded to make money. And Maryland was one of those for people seeking freedom to practice their religion the way that they saw fit. Now, my question for points I'm going to throw out at some point in this part of the notes, so make sure you're paying attention. George Calvert was a Catholic. Oops, I almost wrote it on the wrong line. And he wanted to found a colony where they, being the Catholics, would have religious freedom. Now, there were countries in Europe where the country itself was entirely Catholic, and it was expected for everyone in that country to be Catholic. But in England, and I know I've mentioned this a million times now, and that's hyperbole, the Church of England was the religion that you needed to belong to. That was the only allowable religion to be a part of. So there were definitely Catholics in England. England had previously been a Catholic country before it became the Church of England. There's a long story behind that. Hopefully you learn it in 8th grade or 7th grade. 7th grade. But yeah, so in England, it was not allowed at this point in time to be Catholic. In 1632, the king granted him, George Calvert that is, a colonial charter. And you can think of a charter as like a permission slip. So this is like the king saying, yes, it's okay. It's okay for you to start a colony in the New World for the ability to practice your religion freely. Maryland's settlers were mainly Catholics from England, which would make sense. Those people in England who were not allowed to practice their religion would have included Catholics, and they would have wanted to come to the colony that was set up for Catholics to freely practice their religion. Remember, other colonies that were set up for religious freedom would, like for example, further up in the Northeast, wouldn't have allowed the Catholics to practice their religion freely, but for the Puritans, for example, to practice their religion freely. In Maryland, so of course many Catholics were attracted to this colony, but also non-Catholic settlers from Virginia who just wanted to move up there. I was actually born in Virginia. Remember that. It's important. I was born in Virginia. In 1649, the Toleration Act. And remember, act is a fancy word for law. So this was a law that was put into place. The Toleration Act was passed, and it gave religious freedom to all Christians. So anyone who was a Christian, whether they were a part of the Church of England, or if they were Catholic, if they were Quaker, if they were something else altogether, as long as it was Christian, they were allowed to practice their religion freely in Maryland. Now my question for points is, I was born in one of these two states. Which state was it? And I want you to put a heart around the name of the state on this side. Put a heart around the name of the state that I was born in. All right, so make sure this gets in the basket. We will finish the Carolinas and Georgia later this week. And yeah, make sure your name is on it. Please, please, please make sure your name is on it.